What if the person you trust the most is the one you should fear the most? On a quiet stormy night, a loving mother waits for her husband to come home. Minutes later, her world is shattered by a single gunshot. There was no masked intruder. No stranger hiding in the shadows. Only a door slowly opening, and a truth too horrifying to imagine. How did a peaceful family home turn into a crime scene? What really happened in those final seconds before everything changed forever? Stay with me until the end. Because this is not just a murder story. It is a heartbreaking betrayal that will make you question how well you truly know the people closest to you. The most heartbreaking murder story you will ever hear. True crime documentary. The rain began before midnight. Soft at first. A thin whisper against the windows of a quiet suburban home. Inside, a lamp glowed in the living room. Warm. Golden. Safe. Emma Carter sat at the dining table, her fingers tracing the rim of a ceramic mug gone cold. The house smelled of chamomile tea and lavender cleaner. The scent she always used when she felt anxious. Her husband, Daniel Carter, had promised he would be home by 10. It was now past midnight. The clock ticked with mechanical patience. Each second louder than the last. Emma checked her phone again. No messages. No missed calls. Outside, thunder rolled across the sky like distant drums. She told herself he was working late. She told herself the storm had slowed traffic. She told herself everything was fine. The front door handle turned. Slowly. A metallic click slicing through the silence. Emma stood. Her heartbeat stumbled. Relief washed across her face before she could stop it. Daniel stepped inside. His hair was wet. His shirt clung to his shoulders. Rainwater dripped onto the hardwood floor. He did not speak. He did not look at her. He locked the door with deliberate care. Emma noticed his hands were trembling. Not from the cold. From something else. There was a smell. Iron. Sharp. Unfamiliar. Emma stepped closer. Daniel looked up. His eyes were hollow. Not angry. Not afraid. Empty. Emma saw it then. A dark stain spreading across his sleeve. Thick. Almost black in the low light. Her throat tightened. She whispered his name. Daniel swallowed hard. His voice cracked as he spoke. He said there had been an accident. He said he needed her help. He said it was too late to fix anything. Emma felt the room tilt. The golden light from the lamp seemed harsher now. Shadows stretched across the walls like reaching hands. Daniel took a step toward her. The iron smell grew stronger. It clung to the air. Heavy. Suffocating. Emma's mind raced. She thought of their son, Oliver. Sleeping upstairs in his small blue bedroom. Clutching his stuffed rabbit. Unaware of the storm gathering below him. Daniel grabbed Emma's wrists. His grip was tight. Desperate. He said someone had broken into his office. He said there was a fight. He said a man was dead. Emma searched his face for truth. She found something far worse. Guilt. But not for the reason she expected. A sound came from upstairs. A soft thud. Emma froze. Oliver sometimes walked in his sleep. Daniel's eyes flicked toward the ceiling. Panic replaced emptiness. He released her wrists. Too quickly. Too sharply. Emma moved first. She rushed toward the stairs. Her bare feet slapped against the wood. Cold against her skin. Daniel called her name. His voice cracked in a way that made her stomach twist. Halfway up the staircase, Emma felt something wet beneath her foot. She looked down. A smear. Dark. Sticky. trailing from the front door. Up the stairs. Her breath stopped. The iron scent was stronger here. Overpowering. Emma climbed faster. Each step heavier than the last. The hallway light flickered. Buzzing faintly. Oliver's bedroom door was slightly open. A thin line of darkness cutting through the light. Emma pushed the door wide. The window was open. Rain blew inside. Curtains snapped wildly in the wind. The room was empty. The bed was empty. The stuffed rabbit lay on the floor. Soaked. And there, against the pale blue wall, was a shape. Small. Still. Emma's vision blurred. Her ears rang. She stepped closer. The world narrowed to a tunnel. Oliver lay crumpled beside his toy chest. His pajamas stained deep crimson. His eyes half open. Unseeing. Emma collapsed beside him. Her hands shook as she touched his face. Still warm. Too warm. She screamed. A sound that tore through the storm outside. Daniel stood in the doorway. Frozen. His shadow stretched across the floor, reaching toward them. Emma looked up at him. Her mind refusing to accept what her heart already knew. Daniel whispered that he had not meant for this to happen. He said the man from his office had followed him home. He said there had been a struggle. He said Oliver had come downstairs. He said it was an accident. Emma stared at the blood on his hands. The same hands that once held their newborn son. The same hands that built Oliver's crib. The same hands now shaking violently. The thunder outside cracked like a gunshot. Emma felt something inside her break. Not just grief. Not just horror. Trust. Daniel took a step forward. He reached out to her. Emma recoiled as if his touch would burn her skin. In that moment, the man she loved was gone. In his place stood a stranger. A stranger who had brought death into their home. Sirens began to echo in the distance. Growing louder. Growing closer. Blue and red lights flickered against the rain-soaked windows. Emma held Oliver's small body against her chest. Rocking gently. As if he might wake. As if this was only a nightmare. Daniel sank to his knees. Whispers falling from his lips. Regret. Excuses. Apologies. None of them changed the sight before her. None of them brought back the warmth in Oliver's eyes. The front door burst open downstairs. Voices shouted. Boots thundered across the floor. The nightmare had become real. And the most heartbreaking truth settled over Emma like the storm outside. The danger had never been a stranger. It had been standing beside her all along. Officers flooded the hallway. Flashlights cut through the dim light like blades. One officer gently pulled Emma back. Her fingers resisted. They were tangled in Oliver's damp hair. She screamed until her throat burned raw. Daniel did not move. He remained on his knees. His face pale. His lips trembling. An officer forced his hands behind his back. Cold metal cuffs snapped shut. The sound echoed. Sharp. Final. Daniel whispered Emma's name. She refused to look at him. Paramedics rushed in. Kneeling beside Oliver. Checking for a pulse that was already fading. One of them closed his eyes slowly. A silent gesture that said everything. Emma felt the air leave her lungs. As if the world itself had decided to stop breathing. Rain battered the windows harder. The storm showed no mercy. An officer led Daniel down the stairs. Each step creaked beneath his weight. He stumbled once. He did not fight. He did not speak again. Neighbors gathered outside. Umbrellas trembling in their hands. Faces pale under flashing lights. Whispers carried through the rain. Emma remained upstairs, cradling her son long after the paramedics had stepped back. They tried to separate her from him. She clung tighter, as if love alone could reverse time. Eventually, exhaustion claimed her strength. Oliver's small body was lifted from her arms, wrapped carefully, covered. The hallway fell silent. The blue walls of his bedroom looked colder now. The stuffed rabbit lay forgotten on the floor. Emma stared at the rain dripping from the open window, each drop striking the sill like a countdown. A female officer placed a blanket around Emma's shoulders. She did not feel its warmth. Her body was present. Her soul felt distant. Downstairs, investigators moved slowly. Photographs were taken. Measurements recorded. Evidence sealed in plastic bags. The smear on the staircase. The stain on Daniel's sleeve. The shattered vase near the front door. Each detail building a story Emma wished she could unhear. Hours later, the house was empty. Too quiet. The storm had passed, leaving behind a damp stillness. Emma sat alone at the dining table where the night had begun. The lamp still glowed. Golden. Unchanged. Her mug of tea remained untouched. Cold. Bitter. Across town, Daniel sat in an interrogation room. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Harsh and unforgiving. Detectives laid out photographs in front of him. He stared at them with hollow eyes. They asked him to explain the timeline. He spoke slowly. Fragments of truth tangled with fear. The man from his office. The argument over missing funds. The fight in the driveway. The moment Oliver appeared at the top of the stairs. Daniel claimed he had pushed the intruder. Claimed the man had fallen. Claimed the gun had discharged during the struggle. But forensic evidence told a different story. The bullet trajectory. The absence of forced entry. The fingerprints on the weapon. The investigators saw what Daniel refused to admit. There had been no intruder. Only rage. Only panic. Only a father who lost control. When confronted, Daniel's composure shattered. His breathing quickened. His hands trembled violently. He whispered that he never meant to hurt Oliver. He said he only wanted to scare Emma. He said the argument had spiraled beyond reason. The confession came in pieces. Broken. Ugly. He admitted to firing the gun during the fight. He admitted to lying about the intruder. He admitted he saw Oliver at the top of the stairs. And he pulled the trigger anyway. Silence followed. Heavy and suffocating. Days turned into weeks. The trial drew media attention. Photographs of a smiling boy filled television screens. Reporters stood outside the courthouse in heavy coats. Emma walked past them without raising her head. Her eyes looked older. As if years had passed in a single night. Inside the courtroom, Daniel avoided her gaze. He appeared smaller. Shrunken by guilt. The prosecution described the events with clinical precision. Each fact another blade. Emma listened without flinching. Her tears had run dry long ago. When the verdict was read, the room fell silent. Guilty. The word echoed through the chamber. Daniel's shoulders collapsed inward. He was led away once more. This time for decades. Emma did not watch him go. Months later, the house was sold. The blue bedroom repainted. The stains erased. But some things do not fade. Emma moved to a small apartment near the coast. She kept Oliver's stuffed rabbit on her bedside table. Every night, she listened to the sound of waves crashing against the shore. They reminded her of that storm. Powerful. Relentless. She often replayed the moment the door handle turned. The metallic click. The instant relief crossed her face. She wondered how a single sound could divide a life in two. Before. After. On the anniversary of Oliver's death, Emma visited his grave alone. The sky was clear. Painfully bright. She knelt beside the headstone and traced his name with trembling fingers. She whispered that she was sorry. Sorry she did not see the warning signs. Sorry she trusted the wrong person. Sorry she could not protect him. A gentle breeze moved through the cemetery. Soft. Almost tender. Emma closed her eyes. For a brief moment, she imagined hearing Oliver's laughter. Light. Carefree. Untouched by violence. When she opened her eyes, the world remained the same. Quiet. Unforgiving. She stood slowly. The heartbreak no longer screamed. It lingered. Deep. Permanent. A scar carved into the center of her existence. The most devastating truth was not the gunshot. Not the lie. Not even the verdict. It was the realization that love can exist beside darkness. And sometimes, the person you hold closest is capable of destroying everything you cherish. Years passed. The seasons changed without asking permission. Spring blossoms. Summer heat. Autumn leaves. Winter frost. Emma learned how to breathe again. Slowly. Carefully. As if the air itself might betray her. She found work at a small coastal library. Quiet shelves. Soft footsteps. The faint scent of paper and dust. It was a place where voices stayed low. Where nothing sudden shattered the silence. Children sometimes visited after school. Their laughter drifted between the aisles. Bright. Innocent. Every time she heard it, her chest tightened. Not from anger. From longing. At night, she still saw the hallway. The flickering light. The dark smear on the stairs. She woke with her heart racing. Sheets twisted around her legs. The ocean outside her window moved endlessly. Waves rising and falling in a rhythm older than grief. One afternoon, a letter arrived. The return address carried the name of the state penitentiary. Emma held the envelope for a long time. Her fingers traced the ink. She knew who had sent it. Daniel had written every year. Apologies layered over apologies. Words heavy with regret. She had never opened a single one. This time felt different. Not softer. Just heavier. She sat at the kitchen table. The same posture she had that night long ago. Her hands steady. Her face unreadable. She opened the envelope slowly. The paper inside was thin. Folded with care. Daniel's handwriting was shakier now. He wrote about prison walls. Concrete. Cold. Unforgiving. He wrote about sleepless nights. About the echo of a single gunshot replaying in his mind. He wrote that he saw Oliver in his dreams. Not afraid. Not angry. Just distant. He wrote that he finally understood what he had destroyed. Not only a life. But trust. Safety. The meaning of home. Emma read every word. Her face did not change. Tears did not fall. When she finished, she folded the letter neatly. She walked to the window. The sea stretched endlessly before her. Gray and powerful. She let the letter slip from her fingers. The wind caught it. Carried it away. It fluttered briefly. Then vanished into the restless water. Closure did not arrive in that moment. Forgiveness did not bloom. But something shifted. A quiet acceptance. The past would never loosen its grip entirely. Yet it no longer controlled every breath. That evening, Emma visited the shoreline. The sand was cool beneath her shoes. Waves rolled in with steady determination. She closed her eyes and listened. The ocean did not judge. It did not excuse. It simply moved forward. She whispered Oliver's name into the wind. The sound disappeared into the vast horizon. For the first time in years, she felt the weight on her chest lighten. Not gone. Never gone. But bearable. Back in her apartment, the stuffed rabbit still rested on her bedside table. Its fur worn thin with time. She picked it up gently. Held it close. The silence around her felt different now. Not empty. Just still. Life had split into before and after. But she remained standing in the after. Scarred. Changed. Yet alive. And in that quiet resilience, in that fragile continuation of breath and heartbeat, was the only justice the world could still offer. The years did not erase the memory. They reshaped it. Edges once sharp became dull. But they still cut when touched. Emma began speaking at small community gatherings. Rooms with folding chairs. Coffee cooling in paper cups. She spoke about warning signs. About silence. About the way anger can hide behind charm. Her voice was calm. Measured. But her hands trembled when she described the night of the storm. People listened. Some cried quietly. Some looked down at their laps. After each talk, someone always approached her. A woman with bruises hidden under long sleeves. A man who recognized his own temper in Daniel's story. A mother who feared what might happen if she ignored the tension in her home. Emma never offered easy answers. She offered truth. Raw. Uncomfortable. Necessary. One evening, after a session, a young boy handed her a drawing. It showed the ocean. Wide. Blue. Peaceful. In the corner, a small figure stood at the shore. The boy had written a single sentence beneath it. You are still here. Emma felt her throat tighten. Not from grief. From recognition. She was still here. Despite the gunshot. Despite the courtroom. Despite the nights that felt endless. Time had not healed everything. It had taught her how to carry it. On the 10th anniversary, she returned once more to Oliver's grave. She brought fresh flowers. White lilies. Their scent clean and gentle. The sky was overcast. No storm. Just quiet clouds stretching across the horizon. She knelt as she always did. But this time, she did not apologize. She did not ask for forgiveness. She spoke about her days at the library. About the children who borrowed books about the sea. About the drawing she kept folded inside her wallet. She told him she missed him. Every day. She told him she loved him. Always. A breeze moved through the cemetery again. Soft. Steady. Emma stood. Her shadow stretched across the grass. Long. Defined. She realized something then. The most heartbreaking part of that night was not only the loss. It was the shattering of illusion. The belief that love alone could shield a family from darkness. But heartbreak had not ended her story. It had carved it into something deeper. Stronger. A reminder etched into bone. As she walked away from the grave, she did not look back. Not because she forgot. But because she carried him with her. In every breath. In every warning she shared. In every quiet moment by the sea. The storm that began that night had taken everything she knew. Yet it also revealed a truth few are willing to face. Evil does not always arrive as a stranger at the door. Sometimes it sits beside you at the dinner table. Sometimes it shares your last name. And surviving it does not mean forgetting. It means standing up. Even when your heart has been broken beyond repair. There were days when strength felt like a performance. A careful posture held together by routine. Morning coffee. Library shelves. Evening walks along the shore. But some nights returned without warning. Heavy. Airless. Emma would sit in the dark and listen to the hum of the refrigerator. The distant crash of waves. Her mind drifting back to the smallest details. The way Oliver used to drag his blanket down the hallway. The way his laughter echoed against the walls. The way the house once felt alive. She learned that grief does not move in a straight line. It circles. It revisits. It tests the places that still ache. One winter evening, years after the trial, she received a call from the prison chaplain. Daniel had suffered a severe illness. He was asking to see her one last time. Emma stood motionless with the phone pressed to her ear. The room felt smaller. The air thinner. She did not answer immediately. She spent the night staring at the ocean. Waves crashing against black water. Relentless. By morning, she had made her decision. The prison walls were taller than she remembered. Gray concrete rising into a pale sky. Metal doors clanged shut behind her. Each sound echoing like a memory she had tried to quiet. Daniel sat in a small visitation room. Thinner. Hair streaked with gray. His hands rested on the table. Still. When he looked up, his eyes were no longer hollow. They were tired. He whispered her name. Softly. As if afraid it might break. Emma remained standing for a moment before sitting across from him. There was no glass between them. Only space. Heavy and invisible. Daniel spoke about regret. About sleepless nights. About counting the years in silence. He said he had replayed that night thousands of times. He said he would trade every breath he had left to undo it. Emma listened. Her face calm. Her heart steady. When he finished, the room fell quiet. The hum of fluorescent lights filled the space. Emma finally spoke. She told him she no longer carried hatred. Hatred had been too heavy. Too consuming. She told him she carried sorrow instead. A sorrow that would remain long after both of them were gone. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. He reached forward slightly. Then stopped. He knew he had forfeited the right to comfort. Emma stood. She did not offer forgiveness in dramatic words. She did not offer absolution. She simply said that Oliver deserved peace. And so did she. Then she walked out. The metal door closed behind her for the last time. Months later, news came that Daniel had died in custody. A quiet end. No headlines. No cameras. Just a name removed from a prison registry. Emma felt no triumph. No release. Only stillness. That chapter had ended long ago. His death changed nothing. What remained was the echo of a single gunshot that once shattered her world. And the life she rebuilt afterward. On a warm summer afternoon, Emma stood once more at the shoreline. Children ran along the sand nearby. Their laughter carried by the wind. She watched the horizon where sea met sky. A thin line dividing two vast spaces. Before and after. Love and loss. Trust and betrayal. She understood now that heartbreak does not vanish. It becomes part of the landscape. Like cliffs shaped by relentless waves. Worn. But standing. Emma closed her eyes and breathed deeply. Salt in the air. Sunlight on her skin. The sound of life continuing all around her. The most heartbreaking murder story was not only about the night a child lost his life. It was about the fragile illusion of safety. About the darkness that can grow in familiar places. About the cost of a single moment of uncontrolled rage. But it was also about survival. About a mother who refused to let tragedy define her final chapter. The storm had come without mercy. It had taken everything. Yet she remained. Walking forward. Carrying love and grief in equal measure. Living proof that even after the most devastating loss, the human heart, though cracked beyond repair, can still continue to beat. The years softened the sharpest edges of memory. But they never erased them. Emma stopped counting anniversaries. She stopped measuring time by loss. Instead, she measured it by quiet victories. A full night of sleep. A genuine smile. A day when the ocean felt peaceful instead of punishing. She kept Oliver's stuffed rabbit in a small glass case near her bookshelf. Not as a shrine. Not as a wound. But as a reminder of love that once filled her home. One autumn evening, the sky burned orange over the water. The horizon glowed as if the world itself had been set gently on fire. Emma walked slowly along the shore. The sand cool beneath her feet. The air crisp. She paused where the waves curled and disappeared into foam. For a long time, she simply listened. The rhythm of the sea. The steady breath of the earth. She thought about that night years ago. The rain. The metallic click of the door. The illusion of safety breaking in an instant. She no longer flinched at the memory. It existed. It hurt. But it no longer owned her. She understood something now that grief had taken years to teach. Evil can enter a home quietly. Love can blind even the most careful heart. And tragedy can redraw the shape of a life without warning. But she also understood this. Survival is not loud. It is not dramatic. It is waking up. Breathing in. Stepping forward when every part of you wants to stay still. Emma knelt near the water and let her fingers drift through the cold tide. The waves rushed past her hand. Unstoppable. Unapologetic. She whispered Oliver's name once more. Not in anguish. Not in desperation. But in love. The wind carried it across the surface of the sea. The sun dipped lower. The light softened. For the first time in many years, her heart felt steady. Not whole. It would never be whole again. But steady. And sometimes, steady is enough. She rose and turned toward home. Footprints marking the sand behind her. The tide would wash them away by morning. But the path she had walked remained real. The storm had taken everything she once believed in. Yet it revealed a truth she now carried with quiet strength. Even the most heartbreaking story does not have to end in darkness. Sometimes it ends with a woman standing by the sea. Still grieving. Still loving. Still alive.